No me dice. Creo que vamos a ir sin Instagram. ¿Por qué no me dice editarlo ahora?
Pues dilo al empezar y ya está. Vamos a publicar ahí, pero...
You're really live. If you need to change the stream key, remove this from the stream and then re-add it. Pero claro, no me dice. Remove, vale. ¿Dónde volver a probar? A ver. Ahora debería ser. Hay un que pregunta por lo de la revocación. Ese podemos ponerlo, vou contar algo, mira. Un que fala da revocación, que me pregunta que se eu fago tamén, que porque non teño problemas, ese podemos poñerlo.
Vale.
A mí non se me actualizado ainda ao Instagram, pero...
Sí, estamos... yo ya estoy en
vale.
Instagram.
Vale, perfecto. Pues vou empezar, entón. Vamos a cuestionar. Hi everyone, I hope you can hear us. I'm sorry for the slight delay. We were having some issues with our Instagram account. Instagram is a little bit tricky when it comes to going live. It's not like YouTube that you can schedule and things are more or less automatic. With Instagram, it's not that easy. So thank you for being here. If you are not hearing me, let us know. Or vice versa, actually. If somebody can confirm that you can hear us, that's great. I'm here with Marina.
Hi, everyone.
And we are going to be here for about an hour. We're going to talk a little bit about green cards, EB2 NIW, EB1A. As you know, we are a channel that talks about merit-based green cards, permanent residency cards that allow you to work and live in the United States with your immediate family. And you can apply to those solely based on your credentials, on your project, on what you bring to the table for this country, for the US. So I'm sure you know that. You also know that we are not US lawyers, so we don't give out individualized advice or legal advice. What we do here is to motivate, to educate, and to also make you aware that you can do these processes by yourself without hiring a lawyer. If you choose to do so, if you choose to go with a lawyer, that's also a valid route. So somebody's saying that they can hear some echo. Please confirm if that's the case. To be honest, I don't know what we can do about it, because I can lower a little bit the mic and see if that's a little bit better. Okay, we're hearing well. All right. So let's get going. You can leave your questions, and in a few minutes we will start with the Q&A. I know some of you already are doing that, which is great. So let's start with a brief presentation of today's topic. Thank you. I'm reading all of you saying that you can hear. Great. So today's brief topic, we'll talk about a couple of things, but first I wanted to give you this alert. This week, I think on Monday, if I remember correctly, USCIS issued some news. They announced that for those of you who are doing either an EB1A or EB2 NIW or other processes, and you are going to adjust status, you are doing that from the United States, from within the country, you will need to submit your medical exams when you submit your adjustment of status package. Okay, that's the I-485 package. And in the past, you could add the medical exams at that point, or you could just not add them and wait for them to request them through an RFE. That's actually what I did back in the day. But from December 2nd, they are saying no. Now it's mandatory. You have to add that medical exam, which goes in a sealed envelope from your doctor. And if you don't do that, it will be rejected. The whole package will be rejected. Okay. So one interesting thing is that USCIS didn't provide any grace period. They announced this on December 2nd, and the rule became the standing rule on December 2nd. So another weird thing that USCIS has done, there are many this year, and that means that maybe some people had sent their packages over the previous few days, and when they get there, they will be rejected. And that's unfortunate, but that's how things are done these days in USCIS, okay? So now let's get on with the agenda for this session. We're going to talk for about 10 minutes about approval rates for both EB1 and EB2 categories. Those are the categories in which we focus on this channel. And we're going to see statistics from USCIS. So all the numbers we're going to see are official numbers from the agency. The only thing that we do is we take those numbers, we compile them, we graph them, and we present them to you in a nicer way, because USCIS just give you the spreadsheets. And then we're going to move to probably the most important part of this session, which is the Q&A. So you can ask anything related to EB2 NIW and EB1A. It doesn't have to be about approval rates. It can be about anything. And keep in mind that we are not lawyers, so we are not going to get into individual cases when it comes to very specific things that you may ask. So we talk about the process, we talk about general things about the process, okay? And during that second part, we're going to have a 5-minute break so we can sip a little bit of water and we can relax, also for you, so you can stop hearing my voice for a few minutes, and then we'll get back for a little bit of time, and we'll say bye until the next one, okay? So let's start with approval rates. Approval rates, 10 years of data for approval rates for EB1 and EB2. And keep in mind that what we are going to see initially, later we're going to get in the specific categories, but initially the numbers we're going to see are for EB1 and EB2 general categories. So EB1 includes EB1A, B, and C, and EB2 includes EB2 and EB2 NIW. Okay, with job offer and without job offer. So keep that in mind for the first half of this. I'll let you know when we get into EB1A and EB2 NIW specifically. And then keeping also in mind that for this current year, well, better said, for the previous fiscal year of 2024, we only have data up to Q3. We are still waiting for data for Q4 to close that year, and that should come any day now. And we will make a video for that newer data as it becomes available in, I think, anytime now, really. So let's start with EB1, then we'll move to EB2. In EB1, remember the whole category, including EB1A and the other two, they give us data for the last 10 years, and they break it down to 5 countries. These, I assume, are the 5 top countries in terms of number of cases submitted. And what we see is that the approval rates are very high for most of countries, with the 2 exceptions of China for a few years, which is here in red, that saw a dip below 80%. All the other countries were always consistently above 80%, and even reaching in the recent years 90-something%. China saw that dip in the middle of the graph. And then you see also Nigeria consistently underperforming all the other countries. But one thing we have to note is that the number of cases for each of these countries are not the same. And probably also the distribution of EB1A versus B and C, which is also important because the approval rates may be different for each of those categories. So you can see here on the right that for EB1, India and China, as most of times, they are the biggest contributors to number of cases for this category. And it's actually, I mean, it's not even close. This competition is not even close. There's a lot of applicants for these 2 major countries. And then we have Brazil, but you can see the difference is huge in number of cases. And one thing that is not reflected in this graph, but I wanted to let you know, is that, you know, when we see Nigeria, for example, in terms of approval rates, that is consistently much lower in terms of success rate compared to other countries. We also have to note, because I was looking at the data, specific data for EB1A, the number of cases submitted by Nigeria, that data set tells us that Nigeria in EB1, almost all cases go towards EB1A, which is probably which is the hardest category inside EB1. So that could explain why, if you look at this graph, you may think, well, what are Nigerians doing? Because they are consistently always lower. Well, it's because Nigerians are mostly submitting to EB1A versus B and C. Okay, and that's a big thing to consider here. By the way, we have the links to the official data that later, when we upload the video description, we will update. So you can click on that and you can download and you can play with the data all you want. For EB2, here is the graph for the general category, which again is not only NIW, it's all EB2. And one thing that I was a little bit surprised about is to see Brazil underperforming quite a bit compared to all the other countries. For the last 5, 6, 10 years, Brazil has dipped below 70%. Now is getting a little bit back up, but really a huge difference among all those countries. And again, if we look at the total number of cases submitted in EB2, we see that India is number 1, and then far from India, we have everyone else, Brazil being the 3rd one. And if I cross the statistics between these numbers and the specific EB2 NIW number of cases submitted, what I can tell you is that a country like India that has so many EB2 submissions, I estimate that only 10 to 15% of these are NIWs. And that may explain why India has such a high approval rating if we look at this graph, because most of the cases are cases with job offer. They are not national interest waiver cases. While if I see the other countries, actually all of these countries here, I estimate that about half of those cases that we see in this graph, they are NIWs. And that's why the numbers may be a little bit lower, with the exception of China that does really well, even if more or less half of them are probably NIWs. And in this case, if in the previous case I was saying that there was an explanation for Nigeria underperforming, in this case, there is no good explanation that I could find to conclude that Brazil underperforms everyone else in terms of approval rate. So I really don't have an explanation for this. It is true that a lot of Brazilians apply for NIW, but looking at the numbers, that's comparable to other countries in terms of proportion. So now the question is for you, and maybe I have some Brazilians here watching, if you have any hypothesis as to why Brazilians are underperforming in terms of approval rates compared to other countries. And with that being said, I want to recap EB2 NIW and EB1A specific data, because this data we were seeing is not specific to those categories. And unfortunately, we are still waiting for Q4 data, but we have data for Q3. This is data that you may have seen if you follow our channel from fiscal year 2022 up to the Q3 of 2024. We see that the approval rates for EB2 NIW in green here has been decreasing, and we are now sitting at about 68%, so a little bit below 70%, and that accounts all countries, all submissions for NIW. And actually, for the first time in the last 2 years, EB2 NIW approval rate has actually gone under the EB1A approval rate, which is in blue, which is counterintuitive because EB1A is a higher standard than EB2 NIW, which makes me believe that more NIW cases are submitted without proper preparation or without proper credentials, and that is related to the explosion of demand that we have seen. This is the total number of cases submitted each quarter, and you see in green we see NIW, how there was an inflection point here at the end of fiscal year 2022, a boom in cases, and they pretty much tripled. And we are seeing so much demand that I'm sure a lot of cases submitted don't meet really the standards that USCIS is looking for. And that is my explanation to as to what those two lines for EB1A and EB2 NIW approval rates have crossed for the first time. And we are eagerly waiting for the next data point to see where we go from here. So that's it from me. That's my speech for today. And now we're going to move to Q&A whenever we are ready. Marina, are we ready to go to Q&A?
So.
All right, we are back. We hope you like these new videos that we have from our friend Julia, by the way. Thank you to Julia for putting those together. So let's start with some questions then.
Yeah. So here we have Paula Agudelo. Se presentó a UCITS por parte de una asociación de abogados una petición para que adjudiquen los casos de acuerdo a Danasar y al manual de políticas de USCIS por las altas negaciones. ¿Ayudará?
Okay, so Paul, by the way, I know Paul. I think I met Paul actually. So Paul is asking if USCIS got this case from a lawyer association, probably AILA, I don't know who you are referring to adjudicate cases according to Danasar and the policy manual. Due to these high denial rates, will this action by this group of lawyers help? Well, I'm not aware, actually. You know, after so much time talking about this, and I still learn new things from you guys. I haven't heard any of this that you are telling me, so I really cannot tell you much about it because it's news to me. But if this is true, if there is a complaint against USCIS, I'm going to dig into it and find out what it is and in which stage it is and what we can expect about it, and maybe I can come back to the channel and report back to you. I hope I hope it's true. I hope it helps. But remember that we are about to change administrations in January, so we still have to wait and see how the new administration is going to take over in terms of adjudicating these NIW cases also.
So next is freelance mastery. I have been ranked the first out of 1,400 competitors in my fields of expertise. Does that demonstrate my extraordinary ability? If so, does this mitigate the need for extensive documentation required?
So freelance mastery, it is great that you have been ranked #1 out of 1,400 competitors. I don't know exactly what you're referring to, if you're referring to a particular competition, an award or something like that. But while that will be very helpful, no matter if you're doing, I guess you're doing EB1A because you are talking about extraordinary ability, that will be a very important piece of evidence. But that doesn't mean that you don't need other type of evidence. So for example, if we are talking about EB1A, there are 10 criteria that you can choose from, and you need to fulfill at least 3. Okay, so, and then they look at your overall profile and they will determine if you are a person of extraordinary ability. Even if you meet those 3, you still have to have a good profile overall, showing that 1, you are at the top of your field, very top of your field, and 2, you have sustained that acclaim, national or international acclaim, throughout the years. So for at least one of the criteria and this final merits determination, when they look at your overall profile, what you're talking about will help you a lot. But you need other things, because you need other criteria and you need other pieces of evidence to substantiate that you have been at the top of the field for a sustained amount of time. And I'm talking about EB1A, okay? Because I assume that's what you are referring to.
Next is Jamie. Hi Oscar, saw your video of your friend who was giving green card advice when his I-140 revoked and banned. Could you also do this and just stop working towards your main goal? This doesn't add up to this guide.
So a couple of clarifications. This person that I saw this letter that somebody sent me, and I made the last video we have in the channel is about what you're talking about. This is not my friend. I don't know this person. I know the person who sent me the letter, okay? Who is a client, by the way. So that's number 1. And number 2, you say, well, you have stopped working towards your main goal. This doesn't add up. You are doing the same. In that video where I talk about this issue, I think I made myself clear when I say, hey, don't look at what Oscar is doing or you think I'm doing, because you don't know if I'm still working as a scientist full-time, if I'm doing this on the side. You don't know what is my current status. And those are things that now belong to my private life, and I don't really need to share. What I share here is everything I did to get my green card in the United States a few years ago already. And then everything else belongs to my friends, my family, and I don't need to come here and tell you exactly what I'm doing. I'm not worried about my situation. You shouldn't worry about me. You should worry about you. And when we talk about misrepresentation in EB2 NIW specifically, you need to remain working in your field of endeavor, okay? If you get out of that, then is when you can have problems. So worry about your case. Don't worry too much about what other people are doing. They are responsible for their actions. Be truthful, don't misrepresent, don't put you and your family in trouble.
So next one is from Ishitake Ahmed. Hi Oscar, would like to know why final action dates are not moving since last 2 quarters.
That's a good question. So remember that this system for green cards follows what we call a quota system, in which the United States will give 140,000, more or less, employment-based green cards every year. And that means EB1, EB2, EB3, all the EBs together, they will amount to more or less 140,000 per year. And so and that is a mandate from Congress, okay? That's a law. And these agencies, they administer that quota. And besides that overall quota, they have other quotas within, country quota and category quotas. So they can never exceed those numbers imposed by Congress. And what they do is they publish this visa bulletin that will move or not, or move forward or backwards, depending on where they are in fulfilling the quota. So the fact that we haven't seen any movement in the last months suggests that they are being conservative, because they think that if they move the dates and more people can actually get the green card, then they may violate that quota that they absolutely cannot violate. So that's the reason, is demand and supply. Okay, like a lot of things in this world we live in. So there's a limited number of green cards. There's this demand that we have seen, and I had shown you in a previous graph how the demand had exploded for EB2, and the result is that things will move slower as long as those two things remain. Now, what could change? It could change that the demand changes and maybe we see less demand in the future. We don't know. Maybe the Trump effect will be that less people apply, or that the Congress, they come in and they change the law and they increase the supply of green cards. Is that optimistic? Very optimistic, I think, at this point, but it's always a possibility.
The next question is Paulina Pincheira asking for a prediction of the visa bulletin for fiscal year 2025.
All right, Paulina. First of all, we are already in fiscal year 2025. That started in October. In fact, we are now waiting for the visa bulletin for January, which will be the 4th month of the fiscal year. And that's the change of quarter. So we are really looking forward to seeing that visa bulletin, maybe today, if they are very early, if not, probably next week. And so what we are seeing is not a lot of changes are happening. But in January, I do expect, or I do hope, that we are going to see a little bit of change, movement forward. Now, people that are worried about Trump doesn't have a lot to do with the visa bulletin. So I don't expect changes to happen based on the Trump administration, as long as they keep the law being the same. So for now, being conservative, I can tell you, I would expect the same type of movement in the coming months.
The next one is...
But I don't make predictions.
Yeah, that's true. Pilar Aguirre, that says, excellent channel, congratulations. I'm finishing the process to apply for EB2 NIW. Would you recommend a premium process? My proposal is related to environmental issues because I'm a scientist.
Well, hello, scientist. So thank you for your congratulations and your support, and to all of you who are watching, by the way. And do I recommend premium processing? I don't recommend, or the opposite. It's really a personal choice. What you need to know is the whole picture, and the whole picture is this. Premium processing will only expedite the first part of the process, the I-140 process. Once you get that answer faster with premium processing, you still need to wait to the visa bulletin, because in EB2 we are backlogged currently for about 20 months. So you should know that, first of all, because premium processing has a cost of $2,805 that is additional to the I-140 fee. So with that information, then you need to decide, do I want to apply premium processing or not, based on my financial situation and my eagerness to know, or my need to know. Some people may need to know the outcome of the I-140 to plan other things in their life. And maybe some other people, they are okay waiting for 6, 12, 18 months to get the I-140 decision. So it's really your personal choice based on a lot of factors that you have to take into account. But what I urge you is to get all the information. Like here I gave you the overview. In the channel we have we have actually one dedicated video to this very topic. And once you get that information, you need to go out there and decide what you want to do for yourself.
That's the same question that David Acevedo has, at premium processing.
Yeah, so same answer. You need to take that call based on what the situation is for you and your family.
Next is Anastasia. It's so concerning that the line has not moved at all during the first quarter. Do you think this is a bad sign for the rest of the year, or how should we interpret this?
Not necessarily. It doesn't have to be a terrible thing. I don't think it's very different to what happened last year. It's true that last year was a slow year, but I go back to what I said. In a time where we have so much demand, it's natural that we don't see these sudden movements. And of course, I do hope that January will bring some good news, but there's a lot of people in line waiting. So, like I said, there's a fixed number of green cards that they can give out. More and more people are applying. We cannot expect that magically the visa bulletin will start moving so much. It will keep moving. I think last year it moved like 8 months over 12 months or something like that. So that's what I would expect at this point, unless something changes. And that's why we look at the data that I show you now, approval rates. I don't look at approval rates so much as to the total number of cases, the demand, because by looking at the demand, even though we are looking at past data, at least we have a sense of where are we going. Are we still going to have these visa bulletins that are so sluggish, or we have some hope that in the coming 6-12 months we will see a change in movement?
Next one is Feleke. Hi, Oscar. Are pilots still considered for EB2 NIW? If so, what's the best course of route to proceed for TGA application?
So, Feleke, so pilots, yeah, they are indeed one of the professions that can apply for an EB2 NIW. Remember that EB2 NIW is not really about a profession. It's about showing that you have a project. It's called proposed endeavor in our jargon for this category, a proposed endeavor that is important for the nation, for the US. If you have that professional mission that can bring value to the United States, maybe you can help them solving one problem or two problems that the nation faces, or advancing an area of significant importance, and you have the credentials to show yourself as the right person to do that job, then you can certainly make a case for yourself. So it doesn't matter if you are a pilot or a scientist or an engineer or even an educator, even though those cases are a little bit more complicated. In any case, if you have those ingredients, you have the foundations to build your EB2 NIW petition. And that's what we do in our course. We teach you how to put together the case. We don't teach you what your proposed endeavor should be. We teach you, okay, once you have that idea, we are going to teach you how to write it. What are the right methods to do that? What evidence you need to gather? How you write your petition cover letter, and all those important things.
Heriberto says, con las tasas actuales de aprobación para EB2 en NIW, ¿cuál sería la expectativa dentro de un año de los tiempos de entrega de la visa una vez aprobada este caso? Soy mexicano.
Okay, so let me translate very quickly. With the approval rates for EB2 NIW, what is the expectation 1 year from now about the delivery times for this type of green card, and he's Mexican? Well, the good news for Mexican people is that you're still following the dates for the rest of the world. You know that if you go to the visa bulletin, you see different columns, and Mexico and Philippines always have their own column, mostly because in the family-based green cards, the demand from those countries is very high. But in employment-based, you're still following the same dates. Now, what is going to happen 1 year from now? I go back to my previous answers. I really don't know. I don't do predictions. As of now, nothing indicates that things will move smoother or things will move faster. In fact, maybe the opposite. If the demand keeps being high, the only expectation I could have is that things maybe get even a little bit slower or more or less the same. So that applies to Mexico as well, because we are following the same column as the rest of the world.
So next is Mary. Hi, Oscar. Next week we are getting the visa bulletin from previous years. Does December bulletin show more movements, or we have to wait till?
So Mary, Well, first of all, I like that you are very sure about when the visa bulletin is coming out. I do think it's coming out next week. We don't know for sure, but statistically, that's what is more likely to happen. But remember that it's not the December visa bulletin that is coming out, it's the January visa bulletin that is coming out. Because the December one, we already know, no changes happened there. And January is the first bulletin of the second quarter of fiscal year 2025. And we know that since last year, movements are more likely to happen in the change of quarter. So yes, I do expect that the visa bulletin we're going to know hopefully next week, the January visa bulletin is probably going to show some good news. That's my expectation and that's my hope also, so I can come here and for once I can bring you some good news.
Boo is also concerned about the visa bulletin. So.
Yeah, it's the same. I know you all are a little bit anxious about that, and I totally get it. When I applied for EB2 and EB1, because I applied for both, the situation was so different. We had a letter C current for EB2, and that was actually the case until the end of the end of the calendar year 2022. So not so long ago, 2 years ago.
And Mark says, hi Oscar, are you still hearing about delays from USCIS to send receipt notes through the email for EB2 NIW? I haven't received mine, and it has been more than a month since it was received.
Hey Mark, so yeah, that is what we are hearing. We maybe the worst has already happened and has passed, but we are still seeing that many people, because we are in contact with a lot of people from the course that writes and they are anxious about these type of things. Yes, we see sometimes weeks from USCIS to deliver the receipt notice. I'm not talking about the approval notice, the receipt notice. And even when you file an e-notification G1145 form, they claim they will tell you within 24 hours. That rarely happens. Sometimes they don't even notify you electronically at all. So don't panic too much, but keep an eye on it. And if they don't tell you anything in the coming couple of weeks, maybe you can reach out through, there's an email for the logbox that you can find online, and you can send them an email with all your information. And hopefully you track the shipment, so you can also tell them, look, I have the delivery notice from UPS, USPS, whoever delivered your package, and they can tell you what the hell is happening.
And this one is Luis. Do you guys visualize kind of a stopper with the new elected president? I just started the course and we'll be in the process.
Hey Luis, so I hope that you are enjoying the course. Let us know later if you want to drop a note and tell us how you are doing with the course. About the new president, it's hard to predict what he's going to do. He's not the kind of person that you can really tell exactly how he's going to react. I'm not very optimistic about Donald Trump. I know some of you who watch this channel, they always say, well, he doesn't like illegal immigration, but he's pro-merit-based immigration. But unfortunately, we saw how he governs from the previous administration. He was president once. And even though he didn't go against these kind of programs, EB2 NIW, EB1A, in a terrible way, there were a few things he did for working visas, work permits, protected status, and those kind of things that, and even travel bans that we talked about in this channel. Those things are of concern to me. Now, if we talk about specifically NIW, EB1A, I don't think we're going to see, at least in the first weeks, we're going to see anything major. So don't panic, okay? I also want to send this message of, look, maybe he's not going to be the best president for immigrants, but don't panic, because panic doesn't lead you anywhere where you are going to really benefit from that state of mind. Okay, so keep your head a little bit cool. Now you are in our course. Hopefully you're in good hands, and you go through the course, you start preparing your petition, and write the best petition you can for yourself, and that's really your best chance to get this thing approved.
Next one is Jayton. Hi everyone, since it's the end of the year, will the USCIS take longer to analyze I-140 forms? I've been waiting 212 days to analyze.
Hi, Jayton. No, I mean, it is true that now at the end of December, there are a few federal holidays. We had federal holidays with Thanksgiving as well. We don't typically see a huge change there. 212 days, I don't know how many months is that, but that's within what is normal for non-premium processes lately. Okay, last year we had a period of time where we were seeing such fast responses from USCIS, and I'm talking about 3 months, 4 months. That was normal at some point in 2023. But the situation has changed without changing presidents, by the way, going back to Trump and how we shouldn't panic. Even with Biden, we saw first changes for the better in 2023, and now changes for the worse. Processing times are getting slower. So we're talking now about typically a year or a year and a few months of wait time, which, by the way, it was the same wait times that we had when I submitted my case back in the day. And the difference is that now, if you get tired of waiting, you can apply for premium processing, which was not the case for NIW when I applied. There was no premium processing for NIW.
So next is Abu. For evidence, do we just need to show documents on the official letterhead, or we need to show previously done projects details including code?
Need to show documents on the official letterhead. So Abu, I'm not sure about what you're talking about exactly. When we talk about letterhead, we usually talk about recommendation letters. When you get a recommendation letter from someone, even though it's not mandatory, it is better to have the letter in letterhead. That makes the letter look so much more official and serious and valid for this process. If you're talking about other documents, it depends what documents you're talking about. Okay, since I don't know, I don't want to give you a straight answer because it could be wrong what I tell you. What about the break?
A break? Okay.
Yeah? Well, we can take one more break.
Okay, Asen says, Oscar, your channel is the best for EB2 NIW information. In your opinion, is an H4 spouse allowed to earn money doing social media like YouTube, Facebook?
Hi, Asen. So I'm not really close to H processes. I was on an H visa once, but I was unmarried, so there was no H4 spouse with me. So I cannot really tell you what you can and cannot do on an H4 visa, but look, it's really easy to Google it. I know this is a crappy response, but before telling you anything wrong, I prefer that you go out and Google it, because I'm sure it's super easy to find that information and see what activities are allowed and what activities are disallowed. And maybe you will find that there's no restriction whatsoever. That happens to a few work permits for spouses, but you need to verify it and make sure that you don't do anything wrong before you start even doing it, okay? H4, by the way, is something that I do worry about with Trump. That's one of the examples in which in the first presidency, he tried to get rid of those work permits. Those, I don't think they are codified in the law, so they are more prone to be attacked from a new administration. So again, I don't want you to panic, but keep an eye also on the developments with Trump. When Trump comes into office, keep track on what he does with the H program, specifically H4 work permits. And now, let me before we jump into the break, if I'm able to, because my mouse is going crazy, let me briefly introduce the break, because what we do in this channel is we show you a lot of data, a lot of facts, a lot of things that you should know about these two categories, but we also have websites, EB1greencard.info, you have there on the left side, and then we have EB2NIW.info and their counterparts in Spanish and Portuguese, where you have a lot of information that you can read. Some people prefer reading over hearing me talk nonstop. So if that's you, you can go on our websites and check them out. And out of everything we do, we recommend that you check out our online courses. And here on screen, we have the course curriculum for our EB2 NIW course. We also have one for EB1A. Here we have 10 modules full of video lectures in which, by the way, agnostic to the profession. So no matter if you are a scientist, an engineer, an entrepreneur, this course will walk you through each step of the process, each step of preparing your petition. And those things include the cover letter, the how to fill out the forms, of course, how to put together a professional business plan, how to get recommendation letters, all the important things you have there. We have great reviews, luckily, and maybe someone who is in the course and is here today can drop a comment and tell you about it. And for EB2 NIW, we have monthly live sessions. How are those sessions different to this one? Well, in this one, we only read written comments, but in our NIW course, we actually have a video call where you can come, put your camera on, and we can talk, and it's so much better. So if you want to get that, enroll in our online courses. And now for EB2 NIW, those course members, they can apply for our AI assistants. These AI assistants we created, they have two legs of them. One is chatbot support. We have a few bots that are trained in specific topics of the NIW process. They are trained by us, having our methodology in mind, and they will deliver answers to you immediately. And then the ones that I really like are the reviewer assistants, where you can copy and paste certain parts of your petition draft, and you will get feedback from this artificial intelligence tool that is trained by us. So it's not like ChatGPT making mistakes and taking information God knows where from. This is an AI tool that is really almost Oscar level kind of NIW knowledge. Okay, so if you are a course member, you also can get this as an add-on. And now we're going to leave you with a brief video that will talk specifically about the chatbot support and comparing it to ChatGPT while I take a brief break, and we'll be back in 4 minutes. In this video, I want to show you a couple of examples of how our artificial intelligence products compare to the ChatGPT flagship product that you can pay, because remember, you have to pay for a subscription for ChatGPT to use the latest models that we use in our product. And so you would be paying $20 per month. And this is the result that you would get if you answer specific questions about EB2 NIW. Let's see how both compare. So here I have a prompt for ChatGPT where I say, you are an expert on EB2 NIW petitions. I'm going to ask you questions and please respond to my questions. The first question I ask is, I'm filing from abroad. That's not necessary information. I'm just trying to confuse the system. I'm filing from abroad and I need to fill out part 1, question 5 and 6 for form I-140. How should I respond? And ChatGPT actually fails completely because it is referring to questions that are not the correct questions on the form. So it doesn't even know how to locate the different parts in the form I-140. If we go to our own artificial intelligence assistant and we go to forms and fees, that particular bot that is an expert on that part of the petition, I ask the same question, and now, yes, our bot knows exactly what questions I'm talking about, and it replies correctly to each of those question 5 and question 6. Okay. It says for question 5 you need to mark no because you are a non-profit, and question 6 you have to mark yes if you want to pay the reduced asylum program fee, which is correct. I went back to ChatGPT and I asked, I'm filing from abroad, I have a spouse and 2 children, how much will we have to pay as part of the government fees? It's a pretty simple question, but ChatGPT again messes it up because it says that for the I-140 we need to pay $700 and it's actually $715 plus asylum program fee, which ChatGPT completely forgets about. And then ChatGPT also messes up the consular fee. It should be $345 and it says $325. So a lot of incorrect things, which is a little bit crazy that ChatGPT is making these mistakes. But if we go to our own bot, and we ask the exact same question, it gets it completely right. $715 plus $300 of reduced asylum program fee, and that's only for the principal applicant. As an optional, it tells us that we can pay premium processing, and it gives us the right amount, and then it also gives us the right amount for concern processing, saying that each member of the family will have to pay. Finally, it gives the overall summary. So, really good job. And then we go back once again and we ask ChatGPT, can I file premium processing electronically for EB2 NIW? And ChatGPT mistakenly says, yes, you can file this premium processing electronically, which is not true for EB2 NIW as of today. And it also messes up the price for premium processing. It says $2,500, which used to be the old price, but it's been a few months since it is not. Now, if we go back to our bot, it addresses our question perfectly fine. But again, I would like to tell you a disclaimer, which is our products are still based on artificial intelligence. They are trained by us, but from time to time, they could issue non-accurate answers. So be very careful and always double check with our lessons. And if you are asking something that is sensitive and very important, or you are unsure about what the bot is telling you, go back to the course and submit a question so a human being can answer for you. Hello, we're back, and we'll take a few more questions before we go for the day. So, Marina, what do you have in store?
So, hi Oscar, do we have to wait for the new executive order, or can we base the endeavor on Biden's executive orders?
So that's a great question, right now, you only have one option, which is go with the existing executive orders. But, and by the way, I look back, because this was a question for myself as well. I look back a little bit at opinions from lawyers, and of course, this happened a few times already. Where there is a change of president and there is a change of party, a major switch in administrations. And so they, basically these lawyers were saying, you know, you have to keep doing what you're doing, work with the evidence that you have right now, submit your case, and there will be a few months where there will be a transition period, and hopefully USCIS will recognize that and will understand that, you know, there were no executive orders from Trump when you submitted the case. Okay.
So next is Dr. Isa. Hello, if one of your dependents turns 21 while you have an approved NIW case and are waiting for your priority date to become current, will they still be included?
That's a great question. When a children is 21, they age out. However, there is a regulation called CSPA, Child Status Protected Act, in which you can subtract the number of days that your petition, your I-140 was pending. Okay, so once a visa is available to you, at that point you take the child age and you subtract the number of days your I-140 was pending. And it's a little bit complicated topic, so it's impossible for me to look at your case right now, but Google CSPA, try to understand it and apply that calculations and see if your son or daughter has some hope to get included or not.
Alice Bass, if one has applied for the diversity lottery, do we have to wait for the outcome before applying for I-140? If not, what happens if one wins?
Yeah, Alice, I think you were here in the last live, so welcome again. Thank you for being here twice. And no, they don't conflict with each other. So if you apply for diversity lottery, you can submit your I-140. There's no issue. Even if you apply for diversity lottery, that doesn't indicate immigrant intent for other non-immigrant visas as well. That's an extra data point that I gave.
So next is, hi Oscar, I got an RFK that totally destroyed my prom 1 and 2. Can you help me with soft tips?
Well, Tafat Swa, no, I can't because I don't know the details from your case, but generally, I'm going to speak generally, what you have to do is you have to read the RFE very carefully, see what they are critiquing in your case. Keep in mind that a lot of the RFE that you got is a copy-paste from the officer. Focus on the specific points for your case specifically, and then rewrite your proposed endeavor statement to make it very clear, indicate what your endeavor will help with specifically, what is the impact of your endeavor specifically, not your field, and then showcase your credentials. If you need help, you can sign up for our course and you'll find a lot of value there, even if it's not an RFE specific course.
This one is a quick one. EB2 NIW is for senior software engineers.
Yes.
And that is for you.
For EB2 NIW, is it better to file the I-485 from the US instead of overseas? Because the final action days are slightly earlier than days for filing. Do I understand that correctly? I think maybe yes, but you're confused. I-485 is only adjustment of status. So we have either adjustment of status, I-485, or consular processing from abroad. There's no one better way. Generally, adjustment of status is going to be faster in the sense that you are already in the US and not even looking at the tables, okay? Because the final action dates, the table A, is what really determines when you can get the green card, and that applies to both people from abroad and people from the applying from within the US. So from that point of view, they are equal. But when you are outside, you have to account for some wait time, additional wait time from the consulate or embassy, which can be variable depending on where you are. Okay, so there's no straight answer. Generally, adjustment of status will be a little bit faster. Plus, you can apply for an EAD card to work and another one to travel. So yeah, typically that's the faster route.
So Maddie B says, once the I-140 is approved, can I apply for any job I want already? Or do I need to apply for a work permission first? If so, how long?
Yeah, Maddie, that's a great question. I-140 does not grant you the right to work, okay? And this is especially important for those of you doing NIWs, where you can get your I-140 approved, and then you may have to wait many, many months to file for an adjustment of status. With the I-140 approval, you cannot work unless you have an underlying visa status that allows you to work. You can continue using that visa, of course, but if you don't have that, I-140 does not equal work permit. You have to wait until you file an adjustment of status, until the visa bulletin allows you to do that. Then you can apply for an EAD card. It takes currently 3-4 months, and then you can work.
Next is in the I-140 application, it is necessary to show how the proposed endeavor will be funded.
It depends what kind of proposed endeavor you have. If you have an entrepreneurial business endeavor, generally it is very, very nice, almost, in my opinion, a must to indicate how you plan to fund the operations. And that's especially important if you can get American investors, for example, that will strengthen your petition a lot.
And Andrés says, para solicitar la EB1, como demuestro que he sido jurado de trabajo de tesis de otras personas, se debe juntar el trabajo de grado con las actas de notas.
So Andrés is asking for EB1, how do I prove that I have been judging the work of others? For example, a dissertation. Do I need to attach the dissertation itself with the signatures from the panel? So yeah, you need some kind of hard evidence where you can substantiate that you have done that work. So yeah, that kind of documentation is one that you can use. Depending on where you have judged the work of others, you will have one type or another. You can strengthen it through testimonials also. So there's a few things that you can use.
Next is from the Instagram, Muka Elvira. How long after RFE for medical exam you get I-485 approved for EB1A?
So it really depends. If you are waived the interview, it can be pretty fast. And by the way, we just talked at the beginning that this will no longer be the case. There will not be RFEs for medical exams, but you may have gotten one because they just changed that. And so maybe a few weeks for the final approval if you have been waived the interview. If they call you to the interview, that will still be a few months away.
Daniel, hola, tengo mi licenciatura en Derecho en México, tengo experiencia en mi profesión, sin embargo voy a entrar en una maestría en Derecho, ¿puedo aplicar para la visa EB2 NIW?
From the point of, sorry, let me translate. So this person from Mexico has the equivalent of a bachelor in law, but now he's going to start a master in law as well. So can I apply for an EB2 NIW? From the point of view of education, if you have a bachelor and you have 5 years of experience post-graduation, then you can already qualify as long as you meet the matter of answer. If you don't have those 5 years, you need to wait until you graduate with the master, okay? It's not only starting, it's finishing it.
So Eddie is asking this, but I think we already answered some of...
Yeah, my status is shown actively being reviewed, almost 4 months, no notification received. Is the positive sign? No, it's not a positive or negative, it's neutral. Actively being reviewed by USCIS means nothing, okay? I know this is crazy, but it means absolutely nothing. It means that maybe your paperwork got moved in an office or through offices, and they updated the status, but it doesn't mean anything.
Oscar, have you considered adding a module to your course that focuses RFIs? It would cover how to handle them, what to include in the response, and how to address the prompts.
Luis Carlos, that's an excellent question. We are not going to add a module because the topic is quite complex, that if we keep adding things to the course will be huge and, to be honest, scary to look at. So what we are doing, can we say this? The news?
Yeah, sorry.
So next month, now I'm committing. Next month, we will have a dedicated course for RFEs. And what we will do, and we are pretty much done with the content. It took a lot of work, a lot of hours of preparing it with examples, with recording the videos and all that. And what we will do is, if you are an existing member, we're going to make it very easy for you to transition to the RFE course. In other words, we will make it cheap for you to transition to this other course, completely separated, with their own platform for questions and all of that, with their own downloads and all of that. So you can focus on your RFE. Hopefully very few course members have to do that transition, because most of our course members hopefully get approved. But also that will be an excellent course for people that didn't take our course in the first place. You made that mistake, and now you need guidance on the RFE. The course will be very dedicated, and it will be as short as we possibly can. Okay, so because we know that you only have about 3 months to do this, so we'll have that ready very soon.
Hopefully it's for you.
Should we expect the wait time for the interview after the priority date to be longer when compared to last year? For consular processing, it was around 20 months. Will this be longer when Trump starts? For consular processing, most likely yes, just because I expect that he will slow down the work that the embassies and consulates do. That's my expectation. It's not a prediction, okay? Now, everything else relates to the visa bulletin, and that we will have to see. Trump doesn't have a big say, actually has no say at all in how the visa bulletin really works.
So next is...
Hello, Oscar. Will getting a recommendation letter on a company letterhead without a signature pose an issue? Absolutely an issue. I rather have a letter without a letterhead than without the signature. Signature is mandatory. You need to have signature and date. Those two things must be there. Letterhead is optional, but really, really nice to have. Eugenius. My RFE is tough. The agent doesn't understand the endeavor. And also the consultant that did she make it as advanced degree, but my equivalence was made on associate and not a bachelor. I asked do we have more?
Yeah.
The associate, what? I asked the transfer transfer must be a company, to review to redo based on all graduations and probably will be bachelor, you think the agent will consider? So if the RFE affected the classification, bachelor, master, or so, you can still answer and provide the evidence, and you can say, well, this is this degree equivalent to this US degree, and if you meet the requirement, they should accept it as long as you explain it well. And same goes with Endeavor. You have to explain it well. That's what we teach in the course. Dr. Megan Ved, if we are outside the US, it will take some time to collect evidence for EB1A. So meanwhile, we can apply for EB2 NIW and then port it to EB1A being outside the US to reserve the filing date. Yes, remember that if you are within the employment-based green card categories, if you have an approved I-140 in a different EB category, you can use that earlier priority date if you later have a new petition approved. Hi, Oscar. After I-140 approval from abroad, can I apply for J1 visa while waiting for the priority date to become current? So, Renz, you can apply. No one will prevent you from applying, but there is a chance that it will be denied because a J visa is a non-immigrant visa without dual status, and you have to show that you have no immigrant intent. And by filing an I-140, you kind of show that you have immigrant intent. So it's not unheard of that they approve it, but you should know that you have a fair chance of denial. So you can try and see what happens. How long do you have to wait to apply for parole to travel when your I-485 is under review? You don't have to wait to apply. You can apply as soon as you apply for your adjustment of status. In fact, typically what is done is with your I-485 package, you submit your travel document advance parole request. Now, the question is how long they will take to approve it and send it to you. And currently we are talking about 6 months on average. And you should not travel. If you don't have any underlying valid status, you should not travel if you don't have that advance parole, okay?
So from the Instagram, they're asking about the IA. So...
Yeah, where can we find your AI? So you have to be a course member, and once you are in the EB2 NIW, it's only for EB2 NIW. If you are in the EB2 NIW course in Module 1, you will have a way to access it. You have to pay a little bit every month, and you can access it there. So hi, Oscar and Marina. Is there any difference in the lead time for I-140 when you apply comparing when you apply in USA? No, for the I-140 step, it's the same process no matter where you are, okay? They will evaluate it in the same way, you will mail it to the same place, there's no difference in that step. The difference comes in the next step.
So should we do the last one?
Okay,
yeah.
The last one. Hi Marina and Oscar, based on your experience, does it make sense to go for premium processing of I-140 immigrant petition for L visa holder based on the current situation? So it's the same answer I gave earlier. It really depends on your particular situation. Do you need to know that you will be approved or not, or can you wait? But you should know that you will not expedite the second part of the process. So it's only about knowing faster that your I-140 gets approved. That may have some benefit for some people. For example, if you are on an H visa and you cannot renew the H visa past the 6-year limit, if you get an I-140 approved, you can continue renewing it. That's specific for H visas. For L visa, I don't think there's anything like that. It's more about knowing faster if you are approved or not. And it's about your ability to pay also. That's a very important point. I believe L visas are dual intent. Also, it has nothing to do with this pre-processing issue, but just as a bonus information.
So the last?
The last, okay. Again, Dr. Megal Ved, have taken your EB1A course. Do you also provide paid consultation for EB1A where we can send the profile and you can evaluate and suggest pros and cons of the profile? No, we don't do that kind of consultations. We actually we don't even call anything we do consultations. The only service that we do that is a little bit more face-to-face is petition reviews, okay? Where if you are done with the course and you have a draft for your petition, we will take it and we will review it and provide comments on it, okay? We are careful not to provide legal advice. We talk about how you argue each criteria, how to improve the arguments, how to improve the presentation, and all that kind of editorial part of the process, and steering away from trying to impersonate lawyers or anything like that. And so we only do those kind of reviews. We do it with call or without call, normal or expedite, depending on the price. And you can contact us through the course platform. But you have a module, by the way. If you're in the course, you have a module there that has all the information on these reviews that we perform. And I think we're done with the questions, are we?
There are like 5 more, but
and yeah, we're done. So yeah, we are past the time. So thank you everyone for being here. I also want to thank Marina for her excellent work and dedication. Even though I'm always the face and the voice of the channel, the English channel, you can find her on the Spanish channel from time to time, but she does a lot of work, and I think the last live I forgot to mention her. So thank you, Marina. To all of you also, thank you so much for being here. We are going to continue delivering information, especially as we transition to this new administration in January. I know there's anxiety, there's uncertainty. We're going to be here with you, telling you what's new, especially after January 20th, when it's not about trying to predict, when it's about analyzing changes. So you can walk this path in a safer way, in a more confident way. And also now we are entering the holiday season, so happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas, and I was going to say Happy New Year. I think not yet, but almost. So keep an eye on the channel. We are going to have a few videos before the end of the year. One where we are going to recap this year and talk about the next year, and let you know the news that we will have in our community as well. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
And you did it.
¿Tiene música? Vale, ponemos.
No, no de música. Bueno, ainda hoje. Bueno, ya te hagan. No.
Ahora. Ahí salíamos. Tienes que parar tú la grabación, entonces.
Sí, no te suelto.
Ah.
Sí.